In February of this year, The Offspring released their fourth album, Ixnay on the Hombre, which in LA slang terms roughly translates into Down with the Man. It also translates into The Offspring's ability to challenge themselves and for the admirable way within which they continually experiment with other musical genres while steadfastly retaining their punk rock roots. One would seriously have to doubt whether any band before them has managed to bring punk's attitude and raw energy to such a huge market, while never compromising an inch. My name's Max Asanovic, and throughout this audio documentary we should also hear from Brian Dexter Holland and Kevin Noodles Wasserman on all manner of things asked by their fans. We'll start with Dexter and Noodles talking about Ixnay and success.
Obviously the smash was just so huge, and then the new record's out now. I mean, how did you guys get an opportunity to sit down and write this record after the constant touring and everything else that you had to put together to get this record out?
We took a little time off after. We did do a lot of touring and a lot of shows, but we really had about a year off to just kind of try to get it all together and come up with something else.
Yeah, we have a hard time writing. Well, Dexter has a hard time writing when we're on the road. Dexter writes the majority of this stuff. So some of the stuff's old too. Some of the stuff has been hanging around in our closets for a while. Stuff that had been written for like 4 or 5 years. So.
Was it a lot of pressure on the band, the success that came to it? I mean, certainly well deserving, but definitely hit it pretty big. I mean, how did you guys handle it internally? Did you keep it in check? How did you keep it in check?
I drank a lot.
Sure, that helps. Sure,
that helped me for a little while.
That's right.
Still do that.
Right.
I think we've just been together for so long that we learned how to deal with each other. I mean, I've been in this band for 12 years now. So Dexter and Greg started a year before that. We've just been friends too long to start letting this bug us out. So.
We told the story last time we were on the show, but you want to revisit the story and how you got hooked up with the band.
I actually played in a different band with Dexter and our old drummer James, and
we're the Clowns of Death.
Yeah,
That's right.
and then Dexter stole our drummer, and so that band was no longer. And then they asked me to join, so it was cool. And this band was better, anyways.
I mean, now you guys are actually hitting the road. Are you guys excited about hitting the road? I mean, since you've taken the year off and recorded the record.
I am, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. I mean, we actually already did one tour in Australia. We just got back about a week ago, actually. So we have started already, but that worked out really good. It's been great.
This unprecedented wave of commercial success, however, has not been without its hardships, and it has by no means been a case of overnight success for this Southern Californian quartet, as you'll hear. In the meantime, Ixnay on the Hombre was The Offspring's first major release with mega corporation Sony, and their recognised punk vein runs stubbornly throughout the album. If the band were concerned about a backlash from their army of fans, they need not have worried, as Ixnay on the Hombre received rave reviews from fans and critics alike. Rolling Stone magazine said, "The album is gratifyingly unstraitjacketed, and Ixnay contains smoking chords, surprising mood shifts, and a melodic good humour. Gone Away and Amazed communicate grunge-type pessimism with a rare clarity and gravity, but Ixnay's true heart comes from less blatantly serious semi-novelties, where Dexter Holland's hefty high registers keeps the group's eccentric beats light on their feet. The Offspring's album proves just how creative punk rock can be. Rarely has a band so dexterously combined such an apparently discordant element into such a delicious whole." Excellent reviews indeed. But who are The Offspring, and how have they turned the relentless abrasiveness of a previously underground and chaotic genre like punk rock into an irresistible addiction of sound enjoyed by millions? We go on a remarkable 14-year journey that has taken them from the quiet confines of Orange County to global recognition. 3 of the 4 members of The Offspring actually grew up within 5 miles of one another in LA's suburban and usually sun-drenched Orange County. The 3 are Brian Holland, guitarist and lead singer, Greg Kreisel on bass, and Kevin Wasserman on guitar. Central Californian drummer and youngest band member Ron Welty completes our foursome. If proof were ever needed that diligence and sheer hard work are just as important as belief in the music, then The Offspring are the perfect example, having worked themselves into the ground for 10 years before success came their way. The Offspring first began to take shape in 1984 with class valedictorian Brian Holland at Pacifica High School in Garden Grove, California. Holland's fascination about punk rock began when his brother brought home a compilation album called Rodney on the Rock. The Orange County punk scene at the time was brimming with talent, and the album contained tracks from such notables as The Vandals, The Adolescents, the excellent Dead Kennedys, and Social Distortion. In fact, it was after failing to get into a Social Distortion gig that Holland and 3 cross-country running teammates from high school formed their first band, Manic Subsidal. One of the original members was Holland's good pal Greg Kreisel, who had the added advantage of having an easygoing mother who allowed him and his brother complete run of the upstairs of the house. Not too surprisingly perhaps then that the bulk of rehearsals took place here and became the hangout for the band. After high school, Holland started studying molecular biology at the University of Southern California, and it was this reputation for studious excellence that earned him the nickname Dexter, parodying his intelligence with nerdism. Around this time, an older graduate of Pacifica, Kevin Wasserman, was recruited, and the final jigsaw was complete when 16-year-old Ron Welty's stepsister introduced him to Holland. Although considerably younger than the rest of the band, Welty joined on drums, and the Orange County Quartet were now in business. In the meantime, let's hear from Dexter and Noodles on Ixnay Eccentricities and their favourite tracks from the album.
Hi, you guys are great. Thanks for the good music. Been real good. And I have to ask why, or, whose idea was it to put that 1-800-COLLECT guy at the end of the album? Because, I was listening to my CD and that scared the hell out of me. It was funny, but... Oh, my CD ended, I was scared.
He's the 1-800-COLLECT guy.
He's the 1-800, yeah, exactly. That's interesting, huh? Well, we know him as the guy from David Letterman. But,
Larry Bud Melman or Calvert DeForest now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, actually, we could not give him credit on the album as Larry Bud Melman because I guess NBC owns his name.
Yeah.
So
Intellectual properties, yes.
Intellectual property, yeah. So we had to call him Calvert DeForest, but... I don't know. He's so weird, and we thought we got to get this guy on a record. We thought, can we do this? And so our people talked to his people, and
He's got people?
He does. He's got more people than we people.
Wow.
He doesn't have people. He has his nephew is the guy that does all this stuff.
Okay.
They operate out of some apartment in Jersey or something like that. It was all very shady. I don't know. But they got him out, and he
handed
showed
him
up.
an unmarked envelope full of bills and
Handed him something and just said, "Larry Bud, go off. Just say anything." And I don't know. It was hilarious.
Did you have to coach him, or could he ad-lib?
His nephew was coaching him,
Okay.
saying, "Yeah, say kiss my ass, Calvert, say it."
Hey, guys.
hey, how's it going?
Good. I just wanted to ask you, what's y'all's favorite song off the new album?
Yeah, what's your favorite song?
I like that little thing by Larry Bud Melman at the end, actually.
I really like All I Want. That's the one. I haven't got sick of that one yet. So that's my favorite. I also like Don't Pick It Up. That one's just fun. It's just funny.
I like The Meaning of Life a lot.
All right, Justin, good call. Johnny?
Yeah. I'd like to know, what would y'all consider your best gig, and who would you play it with?
You mean a gig that we did play?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, I don't know. Noodles?
Gosh, we played this gig with Rancid and Guttermouth and the Goops on Halloween in
that was a
South
good one.
Carolina. And it was really fun because I dressed up as Lars from Rancid and he dressed up as me. And there was this big Frankenstein coming out on stage. It was really fun. It was a lot of fun. It was a smaller show, about 1,000. Well, maybe even less than that. Maybe like 600 to 800, something like that.
Fairly small. No one ever found out who that guy was.
Yeah, we never found out who the Frankenstein guy was walking around on stage. He just
No one from the Goops?
Somebody who
Okay.
Yeah, that was a really fun show, and the bands knew each other, and everyone got along real well, and it was a great bill.
So no fisticuffs on that tour?
No.
Okay, good. All right, okay.
Thank God.
The band practiced with a zealous determination over the next few years, and in 1987 pulled their meagre resources together to produce 1,000 copies of their first single, I'll Be Waiting. It would eventually take over 2 years to get rid of every copy, but by sending samples to countless record labels, they managed to attract the attention of a small San Diego-based punk label, Nemesis. At Nemesis, they secured a contract and in 1989 released a single called Baghdad, followed by the self-titled debut album, The Offspring. In order to help them with the release, the band went to exhaustive lengths to track down producer Tom Wilson, who was not only a practicing Tibetan Buddhist, but who had a great deal of experience in making punk bands sound good. Wilson had produced albums by some of The Offspring's favourite bands. In the early 80s, he had expertly guided TSOL, The Vandals, and the Dead Kennedys through albums that remain punk classics even to this day. Mike Boehm, the music journalist from the Los Angeles Times, knows why The Offspring was so keen on Wilson.
Tom Wilson was a record producer fellow from San Diego originally, who got his training as a recording engineer and producer working on mainstream recordings, a variety of mainstream recordings not related to punk rock at all. But he found his way into the punk rock field just looking for jobs, and in 1981 wound up being the de facto, if not absolutely credited producer of the first album by the Adolescents, which was one of the key early releases of Orange County punk rock. From there, that was a landmark album, and Tom quickly became in demand from all the punk rock bands around Southern California who liked how that Adolescence record came out, and he began to work for bands like the Vandals and TSOL, and the Offspring came by a few years later. The Offspring started a band in the mid '80s, '84, '85, and when it came time for them to do their first album, they sought out Tom Wilson specifically because they were they were influenced by a lot of the recordings he'd done in the early '80s, the Adolescents, the TSOL, especially the TSOL album "Dance with Me." The Offspring always spoke very highly about that and how they played it endlessly when they were getting into punk rock and first starting a band. So Tom had dropped out of record production in 1989 when the Offspring were making their first album. He'd gone into he became a sound engineer for network television programs, including Roseanne Barr's program. He was working on a lot of high-profile television programs during that period, and the Offspring had some difficulty, but they were determined to have him be their producer, and they did track him down, and he was flattered that somebody still remembered his work from years before, and that began their partnership, and Tom became very much an active coach. The Offspring have credited him with kind of helping them solidify the way their rhythm section worked together, and Tom's more of, I guess, known to have, I think Dexter has spoken of him having kind of a spiritual element to his production. Tom's a practicing Buddhist, and I guess he's not a guy known for so much for a specific technique as just working with bands and helping them get good performances and helping them structure their material in interesting ways. So early on, I think Tom Wilson was very much a coach and teacher and a friend of the Offspring, and very helpful in their development. And they've also always credited him with taking that active role, and he worked on their first 3 albums.
The Offspring's association with Nemesis was short-lived, however, and once again they were forced to send out demos to every punk label they could think of. Let's go back to Dexter and Noodles, reminiscing about their time with Nemesis and about touring.
Hey guys, I got 2 questions. My first one is, why did it take so long to release the self-titled album? The first one, it was released in 95 instead of 89. And my second question is, how did you guys meet Blackball, Jason McLean?
Right. Well, that first album came out on a really small label and just kind of sat there and it just didn't really have the distribution, and we took it back after a while. And, we knew we wanted to put it out sometime, but we just, we didn't want to put it out right after Smash. We didn't want it to be like we were just trying to milk it and stuff. So we were just going to kind of sit on it for a little while. And then we started seeing more and more bootlegs of it, and it just seemed like the whole bootleg thing is, usually those records are really low quality, and they charge way too much, and kids have to spend like $30 to get this record. So we decided to put it out sooner.
But also, we do love the songs on that record. I do. So yeah. We also wanted to release it because it's cool. It's stuff that we did, and we wanted to share that with as many people as we could as well. So
for sure, that's why we didn't put it out sooner, though. And then Blackball, he's just this annoying jerk that wouldn't leave us alone at all our shows, and we call him Blackball because he always screamed out for us to play Blackball, which is one of the songs off our first record that we don't usually play.
I thought it was just because he's a black mark on society. But all right.
It was during this period that they cut a track for a compilation record called Flipside. The album was to be released by Epitaph Records, whose owner, Brett Gurewitz, was a former guitarist with Southern California's biggest punk success story, Bad Religion. By his own admission, Gurewitz passed on the first Offspring demo he heard, but a year later, on receiving a demo of a record by the band called Ignite, he couldn't help but be impressed. It was certainly a shrewd decision, with Gurewitz later saying that he felt it had the perfect Epitaph sound, high-energy rebellious punk with great melodies and a cool economic song structure. In 1992, Epitaph released the Offspring's second album, Ignition, which had once again been produced under the watchful eye of Tom Wilson. Wilson had helped the band strip down its sound, simplifying bass and drum patterns and disregarding unnecessary guitar solos. In fact, Wilson was so impressed by Ignition that he confidently predicted to Gurewitz that it would be the biggest selling album Epitaph ever had, with, he estimated, sales of 150,000 copies. Gurewitz thought he was mad, but in fact both men were wrong. The album ended up selling 380,000 copies, and things began to get serious. Although punk had historically belonged to a hardcore cult, the Offspring began to bring home the music to a more mainstream audience. None of the success of Ignition, however, could have prepared them for the phenomenal global sales and plaudits for their next album, Smash. Smash was released in 1994, and it would catapult both the band and the label into the mainstream world of Billboard charts and MTV. Once again, let's go back to Dexter and Noodles talking to their fans.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Hey.
Where the hell are Ron and Greg?
Yeah, where are they?
Yeah, we don't know.
They're just puppets. They're not really in the band.
You guys, I just wanted to say, personal thanks to you guys for all the music, because it's helped me through a lot, and just want to say thanks a lot to you guys.
Right on, man. Thanks. Thanks a lot.
All right, and my question is, I just want to know if you guys are going to be playing, older material such as Elders and Beheaded on this tour, because my band White Trash, we're working on covering Tehran right now, and, we're getting there. But I just want to know if you guys are going to be playing some of the older material from the first two records.
If we don't do it, does that mean you're going to start taking it over and doing it for us?
Hey, man.
The Offspring tribute band, White Trash.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll bring you guys out. You can open up for us.
Cool.
And you guys can play the old songs.
How do you like that, a band called White Trash covering your songs?
I think it's suitable.
Okay.
It's very suiting.
That's great.
I just want to say you guys are the best.
Thank you. Oh.
And what bands do you guys listen to?
What bands do we listen to?
Yeah.
White Trash. There's this band called White Trash that are big favorites. They do a lot of covers, but they're really good covers.
You're hot. You're on.
It's a coffee. You got to drink.
Want to switch seats?
There's a band from Berkeley right now called AFI that's really cool. They're a punk band. Really cool stuff. A lot of stuff like that. A lot of the stuff that we listened to growing up, we still listen to. Dead Kennedys, Adolescents.
And it's a tough question because there's so much stuff that you listen to, all the time, or some of your favorite bands, or maybe you don't listen to it for 6 months, but it's still one of your favorite bands. And like for example, when we played in Australia, there was tons of bands out there, and there were some great bands that we got to check out, like Shona and I played, and John Spencer.
Yeah, John Spencer Blues Explosion. Yeah, got to see a band called Quasar too, which is kind of cool.
Right. Rocket from the Crypt.
Rocket rules.
Who are you going to have tour with you guys?
Well, we usually take somebody different out every tour just to kind of mix it up. But this time out, we're going to be playing some East Coast U.S. dates, and we're going to take AFI and Strung Out.
Hey, guys, what's up?
Hey, how you doing?
Not much. Hey, I wanted to ask you, what inspired you to choose X-Nay on the Ombre for the title of your new album?
Okay, we're going to say this once.
Thank you, Bobby.
We get that a lot. It's understandable.
Everybody, you know what? Why don't we do this? Before you answer the question, everybody roll their tapes now so you can have the answer. You can replay it, over and over again. Okay, answer the question.
There's something, we got to say, though, is that hombre is a Spanish word, so it is Ixnay on the hombre.
It is hombre, yes.
It rolls off a little bit better.
It's actually Ixnay on the hombre.
That's right.
Things like that.
That's right. So, Ixnay being Pig Latin for nix, meaning get rid of, hombre, man, as in the quotes, the man. So, I don't know. I can't cuss, right? I can't say what it really means, but you kind of get the idea,
F
right?
the man.
Okay.
Forget the man.
Sure, right. That's what it means.
Spurred on by heavy rotation on LA's alternative rock giant, K-Rock, the band's breakthrough single, Come and Play, and the follow-up hit, Self-Esteem, meant that Smash simply went ballistic, with sales currently just below an astonishing 9 million copies. Musical director at San Bernardino's alternative rock station, KCXX, Lisa Axe, remembers the time very well.
The Offspring actually has been a staple band for us from the very beginning when our station went online in 1995. We're a relatively new station, but The Offspring, of course, hails from Orange County, which is a mere 45 minutes away from where our station is located. So we were on The Offspring at the very beginning, and of course, when Smash came out, just before we went on the air in 1994, was a huge hit for The Offspring and a huge success in Southern California because these were the hometown boys. I think what's kind of interesting is that Orange County has been sort of a hub for bands in the late 90s. I mean, in the past 4 years, we've seen some amazing bands come out of Orange County. No Doubt, Dave Ferris, Real Big Fish. It's mostly been in the ska scene, and then there's been The Offspring that's come out of Orange County. Speaking more to, they have more of a straight-ahead rock and roll sound, which I think lends their appeal to the entire nation. The ska sound is a very Southern California sound right now, and that is something that may or may not spread throughout the United States. That's to be seen, but The Offspring has more of a mass appeal because they do sound more straight ahead. What's interesting, though, is that their album Smash, I think, is really speaks to the Southern California experience. I mean, what's more Californian than come out and play? You know, to me, that is it. That is exactly the Orange County, Southern California attitude. And then there's another song on that album that is Bad Habit, that is about driving around on the freeway, getting kicked off at all the other drivers that are cutting in front of you and getting in your way. And that, again, is another singularly Southern California experience. But again, the sound of the album is so basic rock and roll driven that I think that contributes to its mass appeal.
It was also about this time that Dexter Holland founded his own record label, Nitro Records, as an outlet for Orange County punk bands. The company's office is situated on the Los Angeles-Orange County border, set within a neat row of building units with a picturesque wooden bridge giving the environment a peaceful and soothing feel. We spoke to Nitro's publicist, Andrea Luna, about how the label was founded and what is the philosophy behind it.
I'd say the philosophy was just to help put out punk rock music and help as many of the local bands that we can, that we like. Actually, I wouldn't say local because we do have bands from other areas, and we're not limited to just Orange County itself, you know, California. So the reason why we started was to help out. Dexter's really good friends with Guttermouth, and they were looking for a label, and they needed help, and Dexter decided that with all the money and the good luck that he had and the success he had been able to get with The Offspring, they decided to start Nitro and release Guttermouth. And then it just kind of evolved from there, and we started putting out more albums and more bands. One-hit wonder, The Vandals, AFI, Jughead's Revenge, and Guttermouth. And we did The Offspring. We did their self-titled. It was a re-release of their very first album, and it was distributed by Epitaph. The bands that we have now come out with their new albums, like AFI's got a new album coming out in October, and Vandals and Jughead's Revenge will both have new albums coming in February of next year.
And now let's hear what Dexter thinks about Nitro Records, writing music, and even watching TV.
I was just wondering how you guys like working with the Vandals and AFI and all those other bands with Nitro Records.
How we hooked up with them? How you like working
working
with them? Oh, they're jerks. He can say that. He's the label head. He owns the label. God. No, they're great. That's why. No, they're not. They're always whining for money, aren't they? See, Dexter comes to me and goes, "These guys, they want money. They're whining." No, not at all. It's great. You know, that's what's so great about having the label is that we can work with bands that you really like and that you're really into the music, and they're just great people too.
And, for me and for the rest of the band, we get to take these bands out on the road, and we have a record out on Nitro too, so we're kind of, I don't know, it's kind of like a big happy family there, but we get to take these bands out on the road, and they're a blast.
What have you learned running your own label? I mean, was it more work than you thought it would be, or?
Oh, I know how to rip off bands now. You mean as opposed to just ripping off the buying public, the record buying public out there? There you go. Yeah. No, it's a lot of fun. I think we can, having been in a band myself, I think, we kind of have an idea of what is important to a band, is what they need from a label, and maybe gives us a little more perspective on how to provide that for them.
Hey, you guys are the greatest band. I just want to know, do you guys kind of all write the lyrics together, or do you all agree on the subjects that you write?
Greg K writes all the lyrics.
Special K, that's right. Now Dexter writes all that stuff, but yeah, I mean we all have, there's certain things that we have a hand in, but Dexter writes like 95% of this stuff. We all get together and listen to this stuff. If there's something that we're against, it's not going to be on a record. We pretty much kind of haggle over this and that. If any one of us is really strongly against something lyrically or musically on a record, it generally won't end up on the record. So,
was there ever one record that he brought to you guys? I don't think this is going to happen. It actually happened.
Actually happened. Yeah, I don't know. We give each other a hard time about stuff,
I remember hating Self-Esteem when I first heard it.
Yeah, I remember hating a couple of guys, and some of the guys didn't like Beheaded, which a lot of people like now.
Really?
Our old songs, yeah. But that's just the way it goes. It's one of those things where you just kind of have to hash it out, and hopefully everyone can live with it in the end. Right.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, how's it going?
I was just wondering, where do you get your ideas for most of your songs? Because I know you can't have one idea for all of them. And what do you guys do when you get tired of each other on tour?
Where do we get the ideas for our songs? Gosh, I don't really know what to say to that one.
Just a lot of different places,
I guess.
Dexter watches an inordinate amount of TV.
Talk TV.
Talk TV.
Oprah used to be good, but Oprah now is not. They're not into the trash TV anymore.
No, she's good. She's about meaning and stuff. I don't know what's up with that.
Well, meaning's
got a
great and everything,
book
but
club now.
It's not good for any song ideas.
Who wants to read?
I need like Jerry Springer, and that
class TV right there.
That's some good material.
And they canceled Richard Bay. So what are you going to do?
Richard Bay.
When Danny had his show, Danny Bonaducci's show, that ruled.
That was pretty good.
But Springer's the king.
Springer's a king. Ricky Lake is pretty rad too.
So when we're hating each other on the road, we all just kind of go off to our own TVs. That's how we deal with that.
Although Smash became one of the greatest selling independent releases of all time, things were beginning to turn sour between The Offspring and Epitaph Records. By the end of 1995, The Offspring represented about 90% of Epitaph's sales, but were collectively infuriated on discovering that Gurwitz was having discussions about selling off parts of Epitaph. Feeling like a commodity, the band had an acrimonious falling out with Gurwitz's label, and after being chased by every major label in the business, they eventually joined Sony. Let's hear again from Lisa Axe from KCXX San Bernardino.
It's interesting because there is a lot of talk about bands selling out, and I was just reading something about that Holland said, that Brian Holland, lead singer, said, Epitaph, when he was on Epitaph, before he signed to Columbia, Epitaph has us on MTV, they have us on radio, what more do we need? We're perfectly happy with the job that Epitaph is doing. And then 6 months later, he signs to Columbia. I mean, let's be realistic. If you and I were in a rock band, and all of a sudden, we were on some small independent label that was maybe taking care of us, but then all of a sudden, we're going to be get our own tour bus. We're going to be, getting residuals from the album sales from a major record label. Who among us would turn that down? If this is your dream since you were in high school, I mean, that's a pretty big deal. So I don't really think that there was a backlash to that. Some bands have had a little bit more of a backlash because maybe they grandstand about it a little bit more, about being on an indie label, about being the rebel band, about being anti-establishment. This band, I think they made a transition rather smoothly, and I think that it was probably just a good business decision for them, which you can't fault them for.
We asked LA Times' music journalist Mike Bowen once again on what the reaction of the band's fans were to the punk rockers signing up to a major label.
Their problem was they were running into a lot of flack from the punk underground that doesn't care for people moving away from it and becoming mainstream successes. I thought with all those currents affecting them, I think they just pretty much stayed true to themselves as a band that writes good, catchy songs, hits very hard. They know how to rock well and mix it up, and had a little fun with it and varied the themes. So some of them are humorous, sarcastically humorous, which is their one of their leading thematic strands. And at the same time could get into some deeper stuff like Gone Away and on this record.
The Offspring were now in the unenviable position of not only having to attempt to create the tremendous success of Smash, but also having to show they possess the ability to continue to grow within their music. Let's go back to Dexter Noodles answering questions from their inquisitive fans.
Hi, I was wondering, my question was how you guys like touring Europe as opposed to the States? Do you find like the fans different, or is it pretty much the same?
Europe sucks. The fans aren't so much different. It's the food. The food is very different over there. We have a hard time with some of the food.
What have you eaten there that's been...
They have some lovely bratwurst over there.
Bratwurst. There's a lot of bread, a lot of cheese, a lot of cucumbers.
It's all meat and cheese.
And butter on everything. You don't put butter on a ham sandwich.
With another side of meat.
You don't do that. But they do over there.
Like a staple to your heart.
No, I mean, the shows are really fun in Europe. And actually, they're a little more lax with all the security insurance crap. So the shows kind of... sometimes they seem a little more free, I guess.
We can get away. They're scary sometimes, but that also adds a little bit more fun energy to it. When you never know what's going to happen.
That's true. But you do have like a language barrier and a food barrier, and you're different country every
food
day.
barrier.
Just a life barrier, I think. Yeah.
So it's a different kind of thing.
Hi, I was wondering how often a week do you practice and where do you practice?
Whoa, Dad.
Practice? What's that? We really don't practice unless we really have to, which means like we might practice maybe two times 2 days right before we go on tour or something. Really.
Then we do have sound checks like generally on a daily basis. If we have a show, we have a sound check. Unless we're doing big festivals, then they're impossible. And we'll try to make those.
But it's kind of like after you go on tour for like a month and you play 30 days in a row, you don't really need to go home and practice.
I do, but...
But you don't know self-esteem at this point?
I know, those 4 chords, but, there's a couple other songs where there's just weird chords. I don't know.
If you could have any superpower, what would it be? And why?
I'd pretty much settle for 20/20 vision at this point.
Yeah, what kind of glasses are they? I mean, what's your vision?
Bad. I don't know. It's neither nearsighted nor farsighted, although I guess it's leaning more towards farsighted, but it doesn't qualify. It's not good enough to qualify as either, and just a really bad astigmatism.
So you can't even go out without the glasses on.
I can't drive. I can't do anything. I mean, I surf without them. Just because they get water all over them when I can't see. I've tried.
That's right. Now I remember a guy got really mad at you once who had similar glasses to yours.
Yeah. Some guy that was in Wisconsin, and I asked this guy if we could trade glasses, and he just got bummed out. And he just goes, "I can't believe you said that to me." And I'm like, "Why? Look, dude, look."
Noodles thought he'd have a brotherhood thing going.
Yeah,
But it actually turned into fisticuffs.
He was fine. I mean, he was like, I don't know. It was like, I felt really bad. I felt like I was kind of making fun of this guy, but I wasn't. I mean, I have the same identical handicap, Oh, man.
So fisticuffs and the Offspring. Terrible. So what about you, Dexter? Superpowers?
No.
No, okay.
I'm not going there.
I always wanted to, I don't know, like the whole Kiss thing, be able to like spit blood and fire and all that stuff. Are those superpowers?
I don't know.
That's just theatrics.
Is it theatrics?
That's theatrics. That's not really.
It's all that stuff like in the movie where they took over that amusement park.
That was great.
That wasn't real though.
No, sorry, it wasn't. No, go see Star Wars.
Yeah. My question is really for my son. He's in your fan club and everything. And what do you guys have advice for young and upcoming musicians?
I gotta say that's pretty cool.
That's cool that a dad called up.
Yeah,
totally.
He's 14. He's been playing drums for about 3 years, and he's really playing about 3 years ahead of his age. And he doesn't really know where to get started. And what advice you guys have?
I'd like to answer that question for my daughter. Actually,
there you go.
Just practice. Get into something. Get a guitar. Get a drum set, a piano, whatever, and just practice.
Yeah, it's not really so much a matter of figuring out the grand scheme of how to do it. It's more like just kind of have fun with it and just try to find some buddies to play with and just kind of do it that way. And that's really how it
find the music you love to play and do it and do it with people that love to play the same style.
With a new label to work on, the band surprisingly dropped longtime producer Tom Wilson and brought in the highly experienced Dave Jerden. Jerden's work with Social Distortion and Jane's Addiction had not gone unnoticed by the band, and he was entrusted with bringing out punk's famed attitude within the Offspring's music. The task of exhibiting an element of change without alienating any of their fans was never going to be easy, but with their fourth album, Ixnay on the Hombre, the Offspring have pulled it off with aplomb. Let's have a final word from LA Times music journalist Mike Boehm.
The Offspring, after the success of Smash, I think they were level-headed enough to want to get back into a human kind of routine, and they kind of stayed in Orange County, and I think they tried to go back to the kind of life they had led, except they obviously no longer had financial pressures. The day jobs were far behind them at that point, but you could see them. Dexter would often be in local clubs, and people would give him his space. You'd see him at places like Linda's Doll Hut or Club 369, checking out bands for his label Nitro. They say that they did not go Hollywood. They didn't try to become friendly with celebrities. They all went back to living their lives. Dexter got married, and the other guys, the drummer Ron and Kevin Wasserman Noodles, both their dads, so they had that grounding. And the Offspring were fortunate in that 3 of the 4 members were in their late 20s or early 30s by the time they became successful. By that age, most people have established firm connections in life and patterns to their life, and they're not as easily swayed by a big economic change and fame. So I think the Offspring benefited from being more grounded when success hit, and it kept them from flying off of the hinges and going into the kinds of pitfalls that rock stars who become rock stars when they're 19 or 20 or 21 are subject to very often. And then they went back to their regular songwriting routine for Ixnay. Dexter likes to write while he's driving on the freeways in Southern California and come up with melodies, and they did that. And I thought they were very successful in coming up with an album that was immensely catchy and also kept the punk foundations that are true to their background, while also being a solid hard rock album that would appeal to people. I thought it was a successful follow-up, even though it hasn't sold as well. I think that artistically they continue to develop and highlight what's strong about the band.
With the release of Smash, the Offspring were unfairly lumped in as members of the punk revival. However, they are clearly one of the few bands that have the ability to deviate and expand upon the genre rather than just regurgitate it. The Offspring's music is a careful organisation of hooks and melodies behind the raw power that contains the attitude and social conscience of punk rock music. We leave the last word to the boys on how they met, what they do in their spare time, and how they handle the occasional strange fan.
I was wanting to know what kind of guitar and what brand do you prefer to use?
Well, Dexter and I both play Ibanez guitars. I play a Talman Ibanez. What is it? What is the one you use? It's like some number thingy.
Yeah, I don't know.
Number thingy. It's
just show up.
I'm really not a guitar technical kind of guy. I don't even really know I don't know what it's called. I can play bar chords. That's about it. I can't play a lead to save my life or whatever, and I just have never really spent the time to learn all that kind of stuff. So, I can tell you it's an Ibanez, but that's about all I know.
Yeah.
How did y'all guys meet and where did y'all form?
Well, we all met pretty much in high school. Doodles was a little bit older, so...
I worked at the high school. I was cleaning up after these guys.
He was the custodian. What was that movie where the custodian reads The Breakfast Club?
The Breakfast Club.
Right.
I am the eyes and ears of this institution.
That was Noodles.
Carl.
That was Noodles' job. He was Carl.
You don't know this, but it's true.
Yeah, so he was snooping through our lockers and found out that we were in a band and decided to join, and there it is.
Hey, I was just wondering what you did in your spare time.
Yeah, what do you guys do to hang?
A lot of different things. I just got into snowboarding a couple years ago. So,
well, you mentioned before you surf. Is that kind of someone that does both things? Is it one easier than the other?
They're very similar. They're very similar, actually, surfing and snowboarding. It depends. Like snowboarding and powder is real similar to surfing. It's different. They're all three different, like skating to skateboarding. They're all three different, but then kind of like along the same line, same kind of fluid feel. So I love that stuff. Just crazy about it.
Now, you get nervous with him snowboarding about the tour and everything?
I think everybody's just about done something to hurt themselves one time or another.
Yeah.
Ron, the drummer, broke his arm it was the week that Smash came out. He broke his arm snowboarding.
He actually played a show like a week after that
with a cast.
Stuck a stick into his cast
Crammed a stick
and re-broke his wrist. Yeah.
So we crammed a stick up
We're
his cast.
still hearing about that one.
And he played it. And let me see. Greg broke his wrist playing street hockey about a year ago.
Yeah. And,
Anything with you?
Right before we were going to do the record. Yeah. I haven't done anything. Yeah.
He's up.
I keep falling on my head, so I'm okay.
His number's up.
What do you do, Dexter, to...
Actually, when I'm home, I spend a lot of time with the bands on the label Nitro. It's a small label that has bands like Guttermouth, The Vandals, AFI, Jughead's Revenge, and One Hit Wonder.
He's lying. He's got this like full-on bachelor pad setup. Except he's married, but whatever. He's got the Hugh Hefner Playboy Mansion happening in his backyard. He's living the rock star life.
It's funny because this is radio. People can't see this, but Dexter's actually wearing a satin robe with a pipe in his mouth.
Well, I wanted to be comfortable.
This big old brandy snifter.
Hi, do you have any Psycho fan stories?
Ooh, we love those.
Psycho fan stories. Yeah, a couple, but I don't know if I want to.
They're not none of them from this country. So
yeah, they're.
Let's just say Australia has, the per capita, the biggest number of psychos, I think. Australia does. And then there's this one grandma in Belgium who has taken us under her wing, sort of. She thinks she needs to save us from the same fate that happened upon Kurt Cobain.
She thinks we're the cat's meow, so to speak.
Yeah,
but
she loves us.
So what does she do? Tough love? I mean, what does she do?
No, she sends perfumed letters in French that none of us can read.
Oh, wow.
And chocolates.
The crazy thing is that you can, if you feel like you're being stalked or whatever, you can't actually do anything unless they set foot on your doorstep. You can't they can write you from Belgium and say they want to kill you, and it doesn't matter.
No, she hasn't though.
No.
She's a kind grandmother. She is.
Sure.
So.
Do you get weird letters?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. The weirdest ones come from irate parents, though. I gotta say.
That's kind of true. That's part of the trouble with this kind of stuff. Is some of our lyrics are kind of sarcastic or tongue-in-cheek,
right?
If you were, and then the problem with that is that there's always people out there that take it literally and don't understand that you don't really mean it seriously. So we do get quite a few letters from people saying, I can't believe you're promoting freeway violence and stuff when about a song like Bad Habit, which is obviously against that kind of thing.
And just tongue-in-cheek,
Yeah, and once in a while, we'll actually try to write them back and explain it all to them, but it doesn't matter. But once in a while we get some angry letters with the CD smashed into bits, and they send it back. They put it in the envelope too for you, just to let you know they're really mad.
At least they paid for it.